Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Unscripted, where I take an unscripted look at games and give them a 1 through 10 rating. I'm Krooked, and this is Street Fighter 2 Special Champion Edition for the Sega Genesis. I decided to play this because I'm also going to play the Super Nintendo version at some point. Probably in the next week video, so we can, kind of compare the two. I never, ever played Street Fighter on the Sega Genesis. I was exclusively Super Nintendo when I played. So, playing on the Sega, this is going to be a little bit interesting for me. 6-button controller. Alright. Okay. It's interesting. I feel like in ways it's a lot more smooth than the Super Nintendo version. Although something's not working right because I'm not able to do directional inputs. And that's a little bit of a problem when you're trying to play Street Fighter because if you can't do any of the abilities, that's a problem. Like, I can't up and right jump, I can't down and left jump, I can't Hadouken, I can't Shoryuken, I can't do anything. This is making it a lot more difficult than it should be. But overall, I can play with what we're given and we can make it work. Because I think it's just a problem with how I'm playing it, not the actual game itself. So, that being said, Street Fighter. Already, I can tell you that sound-wise, I hate this. It has the normal problem the Genesis games have, where every sound sounds like it's blowing out your speakers. It just is atrocious. The hits have a crunch to them. There are problems with Street Fighter, alright? On the Genesis. I hate the sound. It's not the worst thing ever, but it's definitely not good at all. It all just sounds bad. Like it's blowing out speakers and doesn't fit. In terms of graphics, it looks okay. I don't think it looks quite as good as the Super Nintendo, but it still looks okay. I'm gonna get Chun-Li here. Yeah, what up? Flash kick. Yeah, Sonic Boom, what up? So, with Street Fighter, this is the game that revolutionized fighting games. It made fighting games what they are today. And honestly, this kind of feels very similar to the arcade in a lot of ways. Solely because, other than the terrible sound, with a 6-button controller, you get a very arcade-like experience where you get to really play the way that you would have in the arcade. With the Super Nintendo controller, you could kind of do that, but then you're using like LNR and stuff, which, nowadays, that's pretty standard for these types of games, to use the trigger buttons and stuff like that. But back then, it wasn't very standard, and it probably felt weird for a lot of gamers when they were used to playing like they do in the arcade. And, a lot of older gamers had problems. I don't know why, but even people I know, bring up the Nintendo 64 controller and everyone just all of a sudden forgets how to hold things. So when it comes to the Genesis, I'm sure there's more than one person who took the 6-button configuration of the controller and said, I'm going to play this like an arcade stick, where they have, a hand moving the joystick and then fingers to handle the buttons. So it would be a very, very arcade-like experience. In terms of the graphics, too, it looks a little washed out, I think, compared to what you would normally see, but it's still a really, really good-looking game. Maybe the graphics aren't the best, but you can tell who's who. You can kind of tell that that's maybe not an American flag on Guile's arm, but maybe like the Bank of America logo, you know. And control-wise, again, besides whatever's going on with my controller right now, this game controls really well. It's solid, it's fluid, it's smooth, and it has all the hyper settings. If you're playing this 30 years ago when it came out, I'm really pressed to find anything that you would really hate about it. If you didn't have a Super Nintendo, you'd still get to play the game. And if you couldn't go to an arcade, you'd still get to play the game. And was that just blood? Did I just see blood come off of Chun-Li? Come here, I want to backhand you again and see if... Okay, well, she's going to kill me if I try that, so let's not do that. Yeah, got her. But it looks like blood just happened, which, if there was any at all, that wasn't in the Super Nintendo version, because Nintendo is very much about, you know, censorship. The character selection in this is great. As everyone knows, there's a... Yeah, that was blood. Wow. There's like 1,000 different versions of Street Fighter 2, and depending on which version is what characters you would get. In my eyes, that's a downside. I hate that Capcom does that. They still do it today, where if you buy Street Fighter, there's going to be 3 more versions that come out afterwards that you're going to have to buy if you want all the characters, or you're going to have to drop a ton of money. And that's a downside, and it started here, but this game is fun. It's not just a fighting game. It also has a bunch of fun little, like, in-between stages you can play, and overall, I mean, other than the terrible sound, this is a really, really good version of Street Fighter that I don't think anyone would be mad at any point. I'm really afraid of Zangief. Wow, he does a lot of damage in this. His reach is insane. Not being able to, like, diagonal jump is hurting me. But I think that overall, Street Fighter 2, it's one of those games where I don't think it matters as much where you play it, as long as you get to play it. Because this is just really, really solid. It controls well. It looks good. You can turn on other music and play, and if you're playing with your friends, you're not going to have to worry about sound anyway, because you're going to be yelling too much over what's happening, what cool new moves you did, and everything else. So, with all that being said, Street Fighter for the Sega Genesis definitely gets some points lost over this horrible sound, and I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. If it wasn't for the sound, it could probably go for, you know, that 10 that not many games have gotten, but, that just sounds terrible. Ew. So that's it for Street Fighter 2 for the Sega Genesis. I'm probably going to be back with Street Fighter 2 for the Super Nintendo in a couple of weeks. But before that, you're going to get some fantastic Disney games in the meantime, because I'm going to Disney again. And then I have something special planned for May. So until then, comment down below. Let me know what you want to see. Don't forget to like and subscribe, just so that way you never miss out, and you can let me know that you like these videos. And other than that, I will see you on the next episode of Unscripted. Bye!